Alright. What's good, y'all? Soul here, and welcome back to my story mode. This is very strange. It feels like I haven't done like a regular schmegular traditional video in a good minute now. It's been about 3 weeks. That's too long. Let's get back into things. So during this long wait for Pokemon Legends ZA, I decided to do a couple of random things. A couple things that you'll be seeing in the very near future. A couple of real fun projects that I have in mind. One of them involves dice. Stay tuned. And amongst working on these little projects, I decided to take another look back at Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Before we knew anything about Pokemon Legends ZA, we were speculating for a good amount of time what kind of Pokemon game we would be receiving next. Because we're in such a strange era when it comes to receiving Pokemon games, we were completely in the dark. We did not know what we were going to get next. Never mind even having the idea that we would be getting another Legends game only 3 years after the original one. That's awesome, that's cool and dandy, we've talked plenty about it, and we're going to talk plenty about it, but we're taking a step back in time. During the speculation era of things that we could possibly be receiving, one of the things that I made very clear that I wanted to see is Pokemon Scarlet and Violet sequels. In one of those videos during that era, I briefly explained a couple of reasons as to why I would want to see that. However, I decided that I would save a real fleshed out detailed video for a later date. Fast forward a couple months and I'm sitting here thinking, hey, wait a minute, did I ever actually make that video? No, absolutely not. I never made that video. I didn't even fully script it out. I literally could have sworn on my life that I made and published a video talking about my ideas and my reasonings for a Pokemon Scarlet and Violet sequel. Hey, you know what? It's a solid downtime and I've got plenty of other things in the background that I'm working on as far as projects, and I need something to fill the spaces in between. So we're gonna talk about it now because better late than never. Now, it's kind of ridiculous because thinking back on it, getting Pokemon Scarlet and Violet sequels that early, right after what we had with the originals, would probably set people off in a very negative way. So honestly, I think it's a good thing that we actually got Pokemon Legends ZA instead, something to buffer out the in-between before we get our inevitable next game, which could still very well be sequels, considering the fact that Generation 9 is still new. We're going to be rocking Generation 9 for a pretty good amount of time, I think. And don't get me wrong, Gen 5 remakes could possibly be exciting or very scary, depending on how you look at it, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. So let's just lay it out there. I want sequels to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, mostly because I feel like those games never got the chance to even get close to reaching their true potential. There's no reason that we need to just immediately walk away from all of the concepts and mechanics that were introduced in Paldea simply because the first output was a little bit of a wash in a lot of aspects. And I feel like the best possible way to really touch up on all of that potential and all of those things that you wanted to do but couldn't because of time constraints is to go ahead and go at it another round. Take what's already there and improve on it. Develop it just a little bit more and perfect it as much as you possibly can into something that you can truly be proud of. And so here's where I step in and just give my piece, my little opinions on things that I feel could absolutely be touched up to make the perfect sequel for Scarlet and Violet. Now, 2 things before we get started. 1, I've already talked in depth about a lot of different things at different points in time regarding mechanics that I would love to see fixed up in Scarlet and Violet. Some things here and there will be new, some things will be reiterated. Again, we've talked about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet a lot over the last 2 years. Secondly, I want to do something a little differently this time around. Usually, in a video like this one, I would go over the positives and negatives of things that worked and didn't work in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. But again, we've done that a million times over. This time, what I would like to do instead is pull from the things that I felt had some of the most potential as far as mechanics or designs within this game, and actually throw some actual ideas out there to see what could potentially work even better if improved upon in a potential sequel. So, you guys already know the drill. Grab the biggest turkey that you can find, dip it in the fattest vat of nacho cheese, and let's talk about some potential concepts that I think could be easily improved upon in potential sequels for Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet. Firstly, let's go ahead and take a look at a couple of things that I feel could have worked a lot better than they actually did. For starters, the school. Naranja and Yuva Academy are by far some of the biggest wasted potential in these games, and that's not an exaggeration. You're there for the first 20 or so minutes of the game, probably barely even that, and then once you're released out into the world, you have almost little to no reason to ever go back. It's very easy to miss the notifications that new classes are available, and even if you did see them, there's a good chance you're ignoring them because you're busy doing something else out in the actual overworld. Only when you do actually go back do you realize that there are a couple of things to do here and there. It's not much, but they did offer a little bit of content. You could take a bunch of different classes, earn rewards for doing good on tests, and if you're early enough in the games, those rewards could actually prove kinda useful. In my original livestream playthrough, I never went back to the school, not even once. Only when I did my second playthrough for review footage that I realized that there's stuff to do. Completely went over my head. And by the time I got there, the rewards that I got for doing any and all of the classes were completely useless to me. They did not help me in the slightest. But that's the thing, it's easily ignorable, completely missable, and by a certain point in the game, it becomes completely useless. I think we could do a little bit better than that down the line. Now, of course, there are things like building relationships with your teachers and things like that, getting to know them a little bit better, and there is a little cute cutscene with the Star Children that you can do that's pretty fun. That's a cute little event, but it doesn't really add as much as you would think. And see, that's the thing, where you go from there is pretty damn obvious, right? You can easily tell just from glancing at the menus of ways to get around the school and just the designs in general that they wanted to implement more. They wanted to give us more activities to do within the school. They wanted to utilize all of the rooms and facilities available within the school more. They wanted us to build more relationships with more teachers and probably even more characters. So, in a sequel, I think it would be more than reasonable and very likely for them to be able to really hunker down on those things. Give us more interesting and even more challenging classes. To people that actually claim to know Pokemon, challenge their knowledge, test them out, give us more competitive questions. And naturally, of course, if we do well on those, give us actual rewards, better rewards that scale properly to stuff that we have late game. Hell, give us a mechanic or maybe events that allow us to study with other students that we know or want to be friends with so that we could build relationships with them while also learning about these little facts while hanging out with them, whether it be in the library or in their room or some other third place. In turn, allow us to build actual relationships with these students, with these teachers, with these other characters. Let us get to know them. Let us go on quests with them while actually getting to learn about their character. Let us participate in clubs and extracurricular activities. Let us have a little Pokemon sports club thing where we have mini games where we actually put in Pokemon that we think would do well and see how they stack up against other students' Pokemon. Easy. Let us hold tournaments amongst people within the school. I mean, I guess they kind of did give us that in the DLC, but I feel like that's something that should have been available off rip. And then when you get to the DLC stuff, you could do it at the other school with more characters. I don't think it's that much of a reach. And naturally, of course, all of this could help come together if we were to allow to actually decorate our rooms. If we're allowed to do all of these things, all of these extracurricular activities, clubs, getting to know teachers and students on a more personal level and getting rewarded with different items and things that you can utilize to decorate your room would make that a splendid way to spend your time in the school. And you know, honestly, I feel like it'd be a little nice to be able to show off the decorations that you put up by being able to invite your friends over to your dorm. I don't think that's insane. I don't think that's crazy. Unfortunately, I am a massive Persona fan, and as a Persona fan, I have seen mechanics for school stuff that works really well in those games that had the potential to be perfect in these games too. Of course, it doesn't need to be exactly the same or anything like that. Pokemon is Pokemon, and Persona is certainly Persona. But giving us reasons to go out of our way to do extracurricular activities within the school and getting to know all of these different characters that you designed so well would be a beneficial part on both ends. And I think that in a sequel, they could really deepen those mechanics. So you get the idea there, right? Let's go ahead and move on. Now, this next one I'm not going to harp too much on because we have talked about this pretty thoroughly in different videos multiple times, but the fashion aspect. Not too much needs to be said here, right? Obviously, we're school students, so we have to be wearing the school uniform to prove that we go to said school. Fine, I get it, whatever. But there is absolutely no excuse as to why Nimona, Arvin, and Penny can better design around their outfits and I'm not allowed to. That is ridiculous to me. Yeah, sure, we get some nice accessories like some neat socks or hats or shoes or whatever, but you're gonna sit there and tell me that other students get to put full-blown puffy jackets over their outfit and they get to put on like different armbands and things like that and buttons and stuff like that on their school uniforms and I'm not allowed to? I just get 4 strict uniform options and that's completely it? That is insanity to me. If you guys were to go out of your way to make a sequel, I'm totally fine with having a school uniform, but I want to be able to design around it too. Let me have different styles of pants. Let me color those pants. Let me have different shirts. Let me design and color and decorate those shirts. Let me put on an overcoat or maybe a vest or something on top of the shirt for the summer uniform. These are pretty reasonable requests. This is how people are able to show off their uniqueness. It is absolutely impossible for me to feel any kind of unique in my character design when I, a black guy, am dressed and designed the exact same way as every other black guy that is playing this game. Come on, guys. So yeah, fashion's a very obvious choice for what I would pick for things that you guys can improve on when designing sequels for this game. But anyway, speaking of designs, I think it's more than obvious that town designs should never have been shafted. More and more throughout the years, you can see that towns were designed solely with the specific purpose of being designed around the gym leader, and Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is the absolute pinnacle of that. Therefore, they're very bland and very boring and not very memorable at all. I don't think I could name you a single town or city from Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and that's pretty bad, man. That's really bad. If there's anything in an RPG that's supposed to make your journey memorable, it's the towns and cities that you visit and the people that you meet there. And unfortunately, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet's world doesn't really provide that much because these towns, cities, and people are all very bland, solely for the specific purpose of just existing there to have something to fill out space. And the worst part is, it's an incredibly easy fix. For one thing, don't just design these towns with the sole purpose of the player visiting this town solely to fight the gym leader. Give the town some aura, give the town some personality, give us some landmarks. Give us hyper unique stores to visit. Give us NPCs that actually have something going on, like events and side quests and things like that that make the town worth revisiting. Actually, I feel like events in general have been missing from this game in particular when it comes to these cities because nothing special happened in a particular city. Anyway, there's tons of different ways that these cities can be improved upon. Some of them are okay when it comes to general design, but they could be a little bit more flashier, especially when you're trying to show off themes and things like that in relation to the gym leader that's residing there. When you think of somebody like Iono, the gym leader for the electric gym, you're thinking flashing lights everywhere, big bedazzled signs with her face plastered all over the place and things like that. You're thinking a city full of nightlife. You don't really get that at all with the city that she resides in. And that's what's kind of funny to me. It just doesn't reflect her at all. And I feel like we could do a much better job in designing that. In a sequel, I could absolutely see some easy improvements on little things like that. Just putting that out there. Now, this next one, I think we've talked about a couple of times at this point, and it's nothing major, but the non-mandatory trainer battles. I know, I get it, this is an open world game and everything like that, but I still feel like you could easily implement trainers that are somewhat mandatory, or at the very least, trainers that spot you from a distance and make their way to you for a battle, because, again, trainers are way too easy to miss, and some of them are pretty hidden, honestly. You gotta seek them out a little bit. This isn't the biggest thing in the world, and honestly, if it went ignored or whatever, I guess I could live with that, but I still feel like trainers in general are a very important part of Pokemon, and not having general trainers that we need to battle to progress is a little strange to me. Maybe it's because I've grown up with Pokemon my entire life, so it's just weird to not have that, you know, blocking my path or anything like that, but I feel like they could still be utilized a little bit better than how they were in base Scarlet and Violet. So to clarify, non-mandatory trainers are fine, but I feel like some mandatory trainers are kind of necessary. It's a skill check. And then the last thing that I have listed here on the comparison list is the Let's Go mechanic. It's a very much whatever mechanic. It exists. You could honestly go throughout the entire game and almost never use it. There is no mandatory moments in which this mechanic is necessary at all, except for shiny hunting. But other than that, it's got really nothing going on. I feel like the best way to improve on this is simply to get items that you can't get otherwise by using the Let's Go mechanic. We could have easily had them break in rocks for specific materials like we did in Pokemon Legends. We could have absolutely had them bashing into trees and things like that for fruits and stuff. We could have easily had them digging for fossils and other different materials or vegetables even. I don't know, it's just a bunch of these little things that easily could be improved upon in a sequel that could help make the Let's Go mechanic more relevant and more useful. But even then, I don't know, I guess you could technically just buy most of that stuff anyway, but I feel like getting very specific ingredients and things like that for sandwiches would definitely incentivize the use of Let's Go. Overall though, that just about does it for things that are already present that could easily be fixed for a sequel. However, there's a couple of things that should just be generally added to the game for the sake of a sequel that could absolutely improve a lot of things. Most of these I've actually mentioned already, so I'll keep it brief. Firstly, we would need to have some kind of control over the day and night cycle. There's absolutely no reason that we're inhabiting this open world with all of these different beds, even a dorm room dedicated to that, and we have zero control over day and night. What is that about? You can't have spawn rates be affected by the day and night cycle and not have a way to access the day and night cycle comfortably, aside from simply waiting for the time to change in real time. That's ridiculous to me. Unless there actually is something and I just completely missed it, that's completely beyond me. I actually have no idea. But either way, regardless, I think that having access to change day and night or night to day would be very helpful. After that, you're gonna have to have some actual level scaling. Again, we've talked about this in depth for years now, and it's very obvious that nobody is gonna change their stance on this. But if you're gonna advertise an open world where we're allowed to go literally anywhere that we want to go, as long as we have the power to get there, we should be able to battle the gym leaders and, you know, whatever at any level that we are. It shouldn't matter. There should be actual level scaling. Simple as that. And then the last thing, of course, because this would have to be a new story, because in a sequel, you're not going to get the exact same story or anything like that. But I feel like the best thing we could do for that story is to have a genuine villain, like an actual problem team with an actual problematic villain that is putting the world of Pokemon in danger. I feel like that is when these stories are definitely at some of their strongest, for sure. A genuine bona fide villain that actually puts the region of Paldea in danger by trying to harness the power of terrestrialization and potentially harm not only Paldea but potentially Terrapagos. I feel like that would definitely put the player on their toes to get the story going on their own time, you know what I mean? Overall though, that just about wraps up all of my thoughts and ideas for a potential sequel for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I like Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, if I didn't make that clear, and it is something that I could see so much potential for if given the time, love, and proper care during development. And I'm obviously not one of the only people that feel this way. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is still being played today for good reason. Which is why I would be absolutely more than okay with them taking what's already present and utilizing that to make something even better. They already have the base, all they need to do is create the new story and touch upon the things that's already there, and we could have a truly spectacular version of Paldea on our hands. But hey, you know what? Maybe I'm just dreaming. So that just about wraps it up for this one. Just something that I've been wanting to talk about for a long time that I apparently never did, but while we're still in these early phases of waiting for Pokemon Legends EA and whatever else is to come for Generation 9, because you know we're going to be on Generation 9 for a good while, probably even during the Switch 2's era, it's going to be a minute before the next like major game after Legends EA. So we'll play it by ear, we'll see what happens. If we get sequels, cool. If we don't, I really don't know what to expect at that point, but we'll see what happens. But regardless, the mic is getting passed over in your direction, and I want you guys to sit there and tell me everything that you guys are thinking in the comment section below, because you know for a fact that I am always going to be down there with you guys. Am I crazy? Do you think that having sequels is absolutely a ridiculous idea? You don't even want something like that? You just want to move on to bigger and better? Or do you think that I'm onto something? You think that this game could potentially benefit from getting sequels and that we could see a much more polished version of Paldea? Tell me everything, because I just told you why. But anyway, with that, it does appear to be skedaddle o'clock, so I'm gonna go ahead and do just that. I would like to thank you guys ever so much for watching. I truly do hope you enjoyed. Do me the greatest favor of dropping a like and a comment, and consider subscribing for more content just like this here. And with that, I'm gone. So thanks again, hope you enjoyed, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Do me the greatest favor of taking good ass care, and I'll see you all next time.